If you've been editing in Final Cut Pro, and especially if you've been using 4K footage, I'm gonna guess that these little guys have become a really regular part of your life and a regular resident on or around or under your desk. In this video, I'm gonna share 2 tips that will save a massive amount of hard drive space if you edit in Final Cut Pro. Like, if you don't do these things already, I think that you can use less than half as much hard drive space to archive old projects. My name is Nicholas Johnson, and this is the Space Warehouse. Inside Final Cut Pro, inside your library file, lives a folder called render files. And inside that folder is a bunch of other folders, and inside every one of those folders is a bunch of little files. What this is anytime you make any kind of little change, or you're adding a LUT, or you're just putting text over something, it's rendering out all of those changes into like a flat video file on your timeline, over and over and over and over. So if you change a little tiny something, it's gonna re-render that section. Or if you're editing a video with multicam angles, anytime you switch from one angle to another, it's gonna be rendering out your little changes. Anytime you see this little circle doing something, it's re-rendering something. You wanna add some text onto somewhere, it's gonna re-render. So this is constantly happening all the time in the background. It's part of what makes Final Cut run so smoothly. So what that means is every time you make any change on your edit, it's making a new file in this folder. And if you make multiple changes to the same thing over and over, it's just creating new files over and over and over, and it's not deleting the old ones. But if we're talking about a video that has multiple angles of 4K footage, it's pretty much running up a gigabyte of your hard drive space every few seconds. These files existing is not essential to editing your project. If you were to randomly just pick and erase a few of these files, the next time you turned on Final Cut Pro, it would just get to work creating new ones. You don't want to dig into these folders and delete these files while Final Cut Pro is running. It won't mess anything up, really. It'll just, where those little video snippets used to be, it'll just show like a blank square, a black square, or a red square, depending on the version of Final Cut Pro that you're working on. They changed that. So these files are really big, and they really pile up, and they don't delete themselves after you're done editing. I went in and reopened a bunch of my projects and let the files render out, just so I could see this. And if you go in and show package contents, these are the different videos I was working on, and you can see 89 gigabytes, 41 gigabytes, 9 gigabytes, 2 gigabytes. That's not the original media. I have the original media put somewhere else on my hard drive. So this is all just render files. This is some footage for a video I'm working on now that's not out yet. You can see everything plays like normal. It's got 2 different streams of video, a drone shot, and then a shot of Sarah following me around while I'm taking pictures of a van that I'm going to sell to buy some stock. But there's a couple of LUTs on there, and so it's got a lot of temporary render files, and you can see here's its folder, 41 gigabytes. I can literally, if I quit Final Cut Pro, you go to the render files, high quality media, and there is like 40 gigs of temporary files. You can literally just throw them in the trash, empty the trash. Now there's nothing in there, and if I open up Final Cut Pro, the only result of that is that the rendering in the background render has started back over at 1%. You can always work on your project while it's rendering. That's not a big deal at all. But it only does this for projects that are open actively at the moment, which means once you're done editing a project, you can go in and delete all of these temporary files, and you're not deleting any of the work that you did while editing. It's not deleting your edits. It's literally just the rendered files, which it remembers how it did it, so it'll do it again if you just open the project back up again. For whatever reason, Final Cut Pro doesn't get rid of them. So if you do open an old project up again, it's gonna look just like it was the last time you left it, and Final Cut Pro is just gonna re-render all that stuff out. But if you never open it up again, you will have saved like 40 gigs of space per project on your hard drive. I mean, depending on how long your videos are and if you're using 4K and if you have multiple angles and all that stuff. But you'll save a ton of hard drive space with this one trick. There's 2 ways to delete these files. The first way, if you know where your project files are, and you should because they get really big. I do all of my editing on a USB-C drive. They're fast enough, it doesn't give you any lag, and that way you're not like overwriting, deleting on your computer's hard drive, because there is a maximum number of times you can do that before it goes bad. I think the maximum number of times is really huge, but nevertheless, these are cheap, and so I do it on one of these. So if you know where your library file is, you can right click on it or 2-finger click on it on the trackpad, go to Show Package Contents. That'll bring up a list of events, and inside your events are your projects. And so if you know where things are, or if you know what things are called, then you should be keeping track. Like this green screen 2 has a monstrous amount of render files. You just go into there, then it's render files, then into high quality media, all of this can just be deleted. I mean, there is 193 folders in here, and if I do calculate all sizes, they're not small. I mean, the top ones are 8 gigs, 5 gigs, 3 gigs, 3 gigs, 3 gigs. So you can just delete all that and don't even worry about it. Don't even think about it. It's fine. Totally fine. Freed up 80 gigs of space on this hard drive. That's the first way to do it. The second way to do it, you can do it from inside the app. What you do in the app is you choose an event, or you can choose multiple events. If you hold down Shift, you can select multiple events, but we're just going to do iPhone versus A6600. Then you go to File, and you choose Delete Generated Event Files. Hit that checkbox, and it's okay to say all. You say okay. That's going to delete all of those render files, which are temporary and you don't have to worry about. If you want to delete all the render files on your whole library, like you're completely done editing and you're about to move on to your next project, you can just select the entire library. I don't know why this is called April 23, 2020. I just haven't made another one since then. Look at all these projects. Anyway, you select that library. You can go down the same place, delete generated library files, delete render files. You can just say all. Poof, it's going to delete all of the render files. It's good to note that when you do it from inside the app, it does immediately delete them. So now you see I have 308 gigs available. I had 200 something before. Okay, so if you've been making videos for a while and you didn't know about that, now you can go back through all your old projects and you can probably free up half the hard drives you have piled up on your desk or under your desk or wherever you keep them. Tip number 2 has to do with your exported finished video files. Again, if you're using 4K footage, these files they're not enormous, but they're kind of big. Like a 10-minute video is something like 2.5 gigs, 3 gigs. Especially if you've been doing this for a while, that's a lot of space. And of course we don't want to throw these files away. If you don't use Dropbox, start using Dropbox. Get yourself a Dropbox. It saves things away from your house in case something happens. A meteor hits your garage and your house starts on fire and your hard drives all explode and everything's just gone forever. If it's on Dropbox, it's not gone forever. 2 terabytes of Dropbox space is it's like $10 a month. If you're serious about this, that's not an incredible price to pay. Something that not everybody knows Dropbox can do, which is really, really helpful, is so you have your Dropbox folder. If you make a file for your YouTube videos, I have 91 gigs of YouTube videos that have been exported and are just sitting on my hard drive normally. You can put them in your Dropbox folder, you right click on it, and you go down to this thing that says Smart Sync, and then you can just say online only. It'll upload all of those to Dropbox and then delete them off your hard drive. One thing that's bad about that is if you're on a plane and you want to show it to someone, you can't because you don't have internet. But whenever you want to look at something, you just, let's say my forest in 2018, this is all on the cloud. This is all on Dropbox only, but if I double click on it, it takes a little while. It's downloading it right now and it's just going to open. Poof, and then it's ready to go. So if you have fast internet, you don't even have to think about it. It pretty much will open things. I bought a forest in like 2017. I don't know what to do with it yet, but I have one. Anyways, with Smart Sync, you keep all of those files just on Dropbox. They're always available to you anywhere. You can see them on your phone, you can see them on a computer as long as you have internet. But for me, right here, that's 91 gigs of my hard drive that just got wiped away. So that's it. Just with these 2 tricks, with the first one, just with like 4 different projects, we saved 80 gigabytes. And the other one, I don't know, 30 projects saves another 90 gigabytes. But if you have a lot of things going, if you have a lot of old projects and you're using your hard drive and you didn't know about the render files folder, you have a whole lot of space to save, my friend. And I want to say you're welcome for helping you do that. So thank you for watching. I hope I didn't miss anything. If I did, leave a question in the comment. I'll be happy to answer it. Like and subscribe if you have not. I'm moving on. It's pretty late at night. I'm going to eat something and go to bed. This has been the Space Warehouse Studio.